All right, I'm live. Hey guys, long time. I know it's been a very long time since I've been live, but I have gotten a lot of requests for this video right here. So I'm not going to be long. I'm going to just give you guys some basic calculations that you need to know. I should have named this actually basic calculations instead of dosage calculations. I should have named it basic calculations. Um, for certification because people have been asking me, Miss K, can you make a video on the calculations that we need to know for exam practice? So I did a dosage calculation video, did a couple of them. Make sure you guys check those out. I'll link those below. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the video. I'm not going to be long. I'm just going to give you guys a few slides here. And then if you have any questions at the end, I'll be glad to answer them. But I'm going to go ahead and get into these. So dosage calculations for certifications. Again, I should have called this basic calculations because it's more than dosage calculations. So these are just some of the basic things you're going to need to know, okay? You got to make sure you know some basic metrics, right? So some of those are, like your milliliters and your liters, right? You know that amounts of volume of or liquids are expressed in milliliters or liters, right? Weight and then strengths of a solid medication, those are expressed in grams as well as milligrams, right? So you got to make sure you know that. These are also some basic metrics that you need to know. If you like, you can go ahead and screenshot that. I'll give it a few seconds before I move on to the next one. But this is going to come in handy when we go into some of the conversions that you're going to see in a few moments. Okay, so like I said, go ahead and screenshot that. All right, so this is one of the conversions, right? And I did mention this in a video that I did. Now, like I said, I only have a few slides. You definitely want to check out that video. If you are a hands-on person, you learn better when a person is, writing on the board and things like that. That other video is probably going to be easier because I'm physically showing you on the board how to do all of this. But anyway, so whenever you're converting from a larger measurement to a smaller one, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You have the decimal route, and then you have the multiplication route. Well, multiplication or division by 1,000 route, right? For me, I tend to prefer multiplying or dividing by 1,000 versus the decimal, moving the decimal points, but some people it works for them. So like if you had to convert 0.35 grams to milligrams, you could easily just move your decimal point 3 places to your right. So you will go here and then here. And you guys know we learned back in school, like whenever you're moving your decimal over, you got to add a zero, right? So once you add that zero, it becomes that whole number, which is 350. Or the way that I normally do it, I just simply multiply by 1,000, okay? So anytime you're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, you want to multiply by 1,000, okay? And this is when it's when you're converting from grams to milligrams or milligrams to micrograms, right? Grams are bigger than milligrams. Milligrams are bigger than micrograms, right? So whenever you're going from those larger units to the smaller units, you want to divide by 1,000, or like we say, use a decimal, right? And then if you're going from smaller to larger, so if you have to convert a smaller unit into a larger one, like if you had to convert milliliters to liters, or if you had to convert micrograms to milligrams or milligrams to grams, you want to divide by 1,000, or you're going to use the decimal point route, right? You're going to move that decimal point. Instead of going 3 places to the right, you're going to go 3 places to the left, okay? So again, whichever one works for you, that is perfectly fine. As long as you know these formulas, as long as you know these conversions, this is going to be your foundation, okay? Now, there's not a lot of math on these certification exams, but what I'm giving you tonight is basically what you're going to see. All right. So more basic metrics that you're going to need to know for your exams. You're going to need to know that there are 5 milliliters in 1 teaspoon, right? And then there's 15 milliliters in 1 tablespoon. Now you may see some questions that even ask that. They may just come out and ask that how many milliliters are in a teaspoon, and here you go. Or how many milliliters are in a tablespoon? You got that there, right? So that's one. And then you may see something like this. If a doctor orders 30 milliliters of medication, how many tablespoons should the patient take? Now we're going to divide that 30 milliliters by 15, because for every tablespoon there are 15 milliliters of that liquid, right? So you may see something like that, okay? Another basic metric that you're going to need to know is that there is 1 kilogram. For every kilogram, there are 2.2 pounds, right? And so if you have to do conversions from kilograms to pounds, this is why knowing this is important, right? So if you got to convert pounds to kilograms, you got to divide that number by 2.2. So an example, your pediatric patient weighs 25 pounds. Now you guys know when we're dealing with I don't know if you guys can see these things popping up on my screen. Hopefully you can't. But whenever you are dealing with pediatrics, you're going to always convert the weight into kilograms. Now, you may have a scale that's going to automatically weigh kilograms. If not, you may have to convert your pounds to kilograms. So the way you do that, you're going to take the pounds, which is 25 here, and you're going to divide that number by 2.2. Okay, now you're going to see some problems on your test that's going to ask you. You may have to just convert it, and that's that. Okay, and then vice versa. If you got to convert kilograms to pounds, then you're going to multiply by 2.2, right? So in this example, the adult patient weighs 56 kilograms. To figure out how many pounds that patient weighs, you're going to take that 56 and you're going to multiply it by 2.2, okay? And that's going to give you 123 pounds. Again, once you know these formulas, that's all you're doing is plugging in the numbers, okay? All right, so more basic metrics that you need to know. You got length, right? So there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch, and then you have 12 inches in 1 foot, okay? So if you have to, and I'm pretty sure you will see this on your test, if you have to convert centimeters to inches, you're going to divide by 2.54, okay? So for an example, the problem, you have to convert the 25 centimeters to inches, you want to simply divide that 25 by 2.54, and that's going to give you what? 9.8, okay? And then vice versa. So as you can see, all you're doing is the opposite. So once you know the formula for one, if you got to go in the opposite direction instead of dividing, it's going to be multiplying in this instance, right? So from inches to centimeters, you want to multiply by 2.54, okay? So the example here, converting 12 inches to centimeters, you're going to divide by 2.54, which will give you 30.48 centimeters. So that kind of tells us something here, right? So 12 inches, there are 30.48 centimeters, and we said that there are 12 inches in a foot. So this is critical thinking here, right? So we know that if there are 30.48 centimeters and 12 inches converts to 12 inches, then we can comfortably say that in 1 foot there are 30.48 centimeters. Now, one thing I didn't include here that I should have is if you have to convert from feet to centimeters, same thing. You just got your formula from converting feet to inches, which will actually, did I give you that already? Let's see. Okay, that's going to be next. Okay. So I'll talk about that in a moment. I'll hold that thought for one moment. So you got your formula for inches to centimeters, right? You're going to multiply by 2.54 to centimeters and inches is divide by 2.54, right? You got those formulas. Now let's talk about inches to feet. So if you got to convert inches to feet, a couple different ways. Now you'll notice a lot of these formulas have a couple different ways you can do it. Even the kilograms and pounds, there's another formula for that one as well, but I didn't go into that one because I usually stick with the 2.2. But anyway, so inches to feet, you're going to multiply by 0.0833 or just simply divide by 12. That's where I go. I just simply divide by 12. So in this case, the patient's height is 66 inches. How tall is he in feet? So 66 divided by 12 is going to give 5.5, right? And so same thing if you do the multiplication by the 0.0833, same thing. Again, I'm very simple. I'm not a math person. So whenever my students tell me, Miss K, I hate math, I get it because I'm the same way. I'm not a math person. So I try to keep everything as simple as possible, but simply dividing by 12 when you're going from inches to feet, okay? And then the opposite is true when you're going from feet to inches. So you want to multiply by 12, right? Or you're going to divide by 0.0833. Now, what I was mentioning in that slide a couple minutes ago was that I did not include if you have to convert from feet to centimeters, because simply once you know how to go from feet to inches and inches to centimeters, it's going to be that same thing. So all you're going to do, if you see a problem in which you have to convert feet to centimeters, you can't convert directly from feet to centimeters, you got to first convert feet to inches, right? Which you learn how to do right now by multiplying by 12. And then you're going to convert those inches to centimeters, okay? So again, once you have the formulas, you got it. All you got to do is plug in the numbers when you see them, okay? All right, just a few more slides. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you guys long tonight. All right, so another one you got to know for your certification: Celsius and Fahrenheit conversions, right? So this one is a little bit tricky because you got a couple different steps, okay? So when you're going from Celsius to Fahrenheit, first of all, let's look at this. So Celsius equals, and this is probably going to be a little complicated, but it may make a little bit more sense when you do the formula. Celsius equals Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5 over 9, okay? And Fahrenheit equals Celsius times 9 over 5 plus 32. All right, probably complicated. You like, what? Just remember this, guys. Just remember this formula. So whenever you're converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, you want to multiply that number by 9 over 5, and then you're going to add 32. So this example, we're converting 20 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, okay? So 20, we got the formula right in front of us. We're going to simply take that 20 divided by 9 over 5, add 32, and that gives us 68 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Again, the formula is right in front of you, okay? Now, this is for Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now, what about when we have to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius? Now, in that case, we're going to subtract 32 and then multiply by 5 over 9, okay? Again, that's why I say this is probably the most complex conversion, because it's a couple different steps with it, okay? But once you got it, once you write it down and put it in your notes, you have it. It's only from there, it's only about plugging those numbers in that they give you on a test. So as I'm giving you these formulas, just make sure you add them in your notes and just be ready to plug those numbers in when you get them. Now, depending on where you test, some places do allow you to have a calculator. When I did my test the first time, I do remember they had a calculator on the computer. But then also for another test I did, we only had scratch paper. So you want to make sure you're able to do this both ways, okay? All right, so this is another good one that you can screenshot, okay? This is just, you know, some conversions here already done for you. So 34 Celsius is 93.2 Fahrenheit. So this is a good one to screenshot. So that way, if you do see this on the test, if they ask you what is 37 degrees Celsius, you know that's 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So go ahead and screenshot that. I'll just wait a couple more seconds. And I do see you guys are watching. Hey, Veronica. Wow, long time, Veronica. Sabrina. Jamecy. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name right, Jamecy. Jamecy says I'm taking my NHA. Okay, next week. Okay, got you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to the next slide. All right, so now let's talk about these dosage calculations. Now, simple. There's a few different ways you can do dosage calculations, but as I mentioned in those other two videos I did, I like to keep it simple, okay? So we're going to stick to the D over H times quantity formula. Now, what does the D stands for? That's the desired dose. So that's the physician's order. And then the H is what is on hand. So what is on the label? When you go get that label out the medication cabinet or from the pharmacy, what is on the label? The quantity is in the unit, okay? That's identified on the label as 1 tablet, 5 milliliters, etc., right? So in this example, let's say the doctor orders 1,000 milligrams of a medication, right? You go to the medicine cabinet, the medication comes in 250 milligrams. According to our formula, all we're going to do is divide what the doctor wants divide what the doctor wants by what we have on hand. So that's going to be that 1,000 divided by 250. Okay. Now remember, we say the quantity is what's identified on the label, right? As one, like, so in this case, it's just going to be 1. So if the next couple of problems you'll see, it's just going to be 1 because it's simply the medication, the tablets are 250 milligram tablets. That's it. Every tablet has 250 milligram tablets in it. So that quantity is going to be 1. So in this case, all we're doing is 1,000 divided by 250. That's going to give us 4. So in this case, we have to give our patients 4 tablets. Now, to check your answer, all you need to do, you got your 4 tablets. They're each worth 250. Just multiply that 250 times 4 to check your answer. If that equals 1,000 milligrams, you know your answer is correct. All right. Now, again, another example, the medication that your provider orders is 250 milligrams. the medication label reads 500 milligrams. And I always like to point this out because if you ever have to give a half a tablet, you always want to make sure it's a scored tablet. Notice those that the pictures of the tablets that I have here, notice they are scored, right? There's an equal amount of medication on each side of that pill. So if you cut it in half, then you can be sure that you're giving the patient the correct dose. Because if a medication is not scored, like for an example, these tablets are 500 milligrams per tablet, right? So that means it's scored. So that means that on each side there's 250 milligrams. If a medication is not scored and you cut it in half, there may be 100 milligrams on one side and then 400 on the other. It just means that it's not evenly distributed. Okay, so I just wanted to include that there. And if you ever have to give a half a tablet, just give it, make sure it's a scored tablet. I know many of you guys growing up, your parents probably cut a pill in half for you and gave it to you. You know, they most likely didn't know any better, but you as a medical professional, you know that a tablet should be scored. Okay. All right, so now let's look at this. Now I mentioned that quantity and the other medications. The other problem is it was just one. But let's look at it. Let's look at this one. So the provider orders 500 milligrams of a medication. The label on the package reads 250 milligrams per 5 millimeters. I've said 5 millimeters. I'm sorry, 5 milliliters. So that means for every 5 mLs or for every 5 milliliter, there is 250 milligram of that medication, right? So it takes us back to our formula. Again, I'll say it over and over. Once you know your formula, you just plug in the numbers, right? So we got 500 milligrams is what the doctor wants. 250 is what we have on hand. Now that quantity, the medication read 5 mLs, right? It's not one like I went too fast. It's not one like the other problems. It's 5 ml. Okay, the medication label reads per 5 ml. Now, how many milliliters of that medication do we give the patient? So we divide that 500, right, by 250. Okay, that's going to give us 2. 500 divided by 250 is going to give us 2. Now we got to multiply by the quantity, which is 5 ml, and that's going to give us 10. So how many milliliters of that medication do we give the patient? That's going to be 10 milliliters, right? 10 milliliters. All right. And based on what we know about, converting milliliters to teaspoons, we know that that would be what? 2 teaspoons, because there are 5 milliliters in 1 teaspoon, right? All right. So now here's another one. And this is going to take us back to those conversions of knowing how to convert grams to milligrams and vice versa, right? If you get a problem like this, the provider orders 3.6 grams of a medication and the medication label reads 1,200 milligrams, you have to convert that grams to milligrams. You can only give like units, right? So if the provider orders grams and we have milligrams, we don't have any grams. So we have to convert what we have, right? So we got to convert the grams to kilograms. The grams to milligrams. That takes us back to the beginning that we learned a few slides ago. That means we're going to have to convert 3.6. That's the first thing we do. 3.6 to milligrams. So how do we do that? Go back to those slides, right? You should have taken notes on that. If you didn't, you can always go back out. I'm going to save this live, of course, but that's going to be 3.6 times 1,000, because when we're going to grams to milligrams, we're going to divide by 1,000. So now that we have it in milligrams, now we can go back to the formula, which is step 2. So step 1 is converting, right, into like measurements. Step 2 now is to do our formula like we've been doing, right? The D over H, the 3,600 divided by 1,200, that's 3. The quantity, again, is 1, okay? Because the tablets are 1,200 milligrams. Each tablet is 1,200 milligrams, okay? So that's 1. Now we know that we have to give our patient 3 tablets. 3,600 divided by 1,200 is 3 tablets. Okay. Now I'm going to give you guys just a couple of problems that you may see on the test. Okay. So you may see something like this. And I think I got this from a practice test, I believe. A patient is ordered 10 milligrams of lisinopril. PO, we know that's by mouth. BID, we know that's 2 times a day, right? The tablets are available in 5 milligram tablets. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply, right? So I'm sorry, we're going to divide. The doctor ordered 10 milligrams. We had 5 milligrams. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that's 2 tablets. However, he wants it twice a day. So BID is twice a day. So all we're going to do is just add that at the end. So we got our answer, 2 tablets. Now, if that BID wasn't there, then we know that the answer is simply 2. But because the doctor wants that 2 twice a day, that's going to be the answer. The patient is going to take 5 milligrams twice a day. Again, to check your answer, just do the math. So if the patient is taking 5 milligrams twice a day, two 5 milligram tablets is going to give him 10 milligrams, right? And that means he's taking 10 milligrams twice a day. Isn't that what the doctor ordered? Yeah, he ordered 10 milligrams twice a day. So that's easy to check your answer. Just do the math once you work your problem out to make sure. Another example you'll see, okay? The provider orders 20 milligrams per kilogram per day for a pediatric patient who weighs 22 pounds. The medication label reads 400 milligrams per 5 ml. Again, this takes us back to the problem that we read before. For every 5 milligrams, there are 400 milligrams of that. I'm sorry, every 5 milliliters of that medication, there are 400 milligrams of that medication, okay? Now, if you didn't watch my video that I did on this at the board, you may want to watch that. If you're confused, if this is confusing to you right now, I understand, because my other video, I'm actually at the board working it out. So if you're that type of person where you need to see it all worked out, go back to that video. I'll leave that, okay? But if you're with me, good. So anyway, and I'll just kind of reiterate what I went over in that video. So for the doctors wants 20 milligrams per kilogram per day. So for every kilogram that patient weighs, the provider wants 20 milligrams of the medication. So anytime we're dealing with pediatric problems, the very first step is converting pounds to kilograms. Before you do anything, convert those pounds to kilograms. It takes us back to that 2.2. So we got to divide 22 by 2.2, and that's going to give us 10 kilograms. So the patient weighs 10 kilograms, and the doctor says that for every kilogram that patient weighs, he wants 20 milligrams of that medication. Okay. So now step 2 is going to be multiply the recommended dose by the kilograms. He's 10 kilograms. The dose is 20 milligrams per kilogram. So we got to multiply that. So 10 times 20 is going to give us 200. Okay. Now we just calculate the dose. We go back to our formula that we know. This is why it's so important to understand basic calculations, adult calculations, before we go to pediatrics. Okay. So again, I'm just going to repeat that just in case anybody might be lost. First, we converted the 22 pounds to kilograms, right? That's the very first step. Next, we multiply the recommended dose by the kilograms. So the patient weighs 10 kilograms, and the doctor says for every kilogram, he wants 20 milligrams of that medication. Okay. So we had to multiply 10 times 20. That gave us 200, right? Now we know what the order is. The doctor wants 200 milligrams per day. Okay. That's what he says, because he says every day per day. That's every day. He wants 20 milligrams for every kilogram that patient weighs. Okay. Every day. So every day he wants that patient to take 200 milligrams. Okay. Now we go get the medication. The medication label reads 400 milligrams per 5 ml. That takes us back to the formula we just learned. 200 divided by 400 gives us what? 0.5, right? Times 5 ml. I'm sorry. I notice this thing keeps covering the slides. I hate when it does that whenever I move my mouse. So let me move that out the way. So hopefully you guys can see that now. So yeah. So 200 milligrams divided by 400, that's going to give us 0.5, right? So 0.5 times our quantity is 5 ml. It's 0.5 times our quantity, which is 5 ml. That's going to give us 2.5 milliliters. So how much do we give that child? We want to give that child 2.5 milliliters. Okay, so let's see. I think that this was it. Yeah, so this was it. So guys, I know it's a few of you watching now. I hope that this was helpful. Again, if you need to watch it again, take notes, write down your formulas, write everything that I gave you, those conversions, just simply write those down. This is what you need to know for whether you're taking the CCMA, the CMA, RMA, any of those tests. These are the basic calculations that you're going to need to know for those tests. Okay, your converting your, your pounds to kilograms, your Celsius and Fahrenheit, your inches to feet and vice versa, centimeters to inches and vice versa, right? These are the basic things you need to know. Once you have those formulas, you know your formulas. It's just a matter of plugging in those numbers when you're taking your test. Now, it's not going to be a lot of math, but the math that you do see, that's the basics of it. Your adult calculations, dosage calculations, and your pediatric calculations, you want to know those. Again, the formula is what you need to know. You plug your numbers in. And as I mentioned, I will leave those the a link to those videos that I already did. So make sure you guys like this video if it was helpful, and subscribe if you're not already. If you have classmates or colleagues, maybe that's also taking a test, you think this will be helpful, share that with them. Also, remember, I do one-on-one sessions, so that link will also be in the description of the video. And let me just go ahead to the comments. You're welcome, Yolanda. You're welcome. Congratulations, Birth. Birth Wildly says I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's male or female. I'm sorry. Birth Wildly says they passed with a 456 yesterday. Congratulations. Sabrina says, I'm going to be real. I don't understand anything because I didn't watch the first video. So I'm going to go back and watch your first video of this, and then I'll probably yes, Sabrina. Yeah. Thank you for being honest about that. Yeah. So if you did not see those two videos, it's going to make more sense when you see the two videos, because on the other two videos, I'm actually at the board working it out. So if you are like me and you're not a math person, I'm not a math person at all. It takes a minute. I'm the type of person you have to explain it over and over for me with math. And so in those videos, I explained it the way I understand it. So people told me that makes it so much more simple. So yeah, watch those other two videos. And it's just, the first one says like dosage calculations for beginners or something like that. And then the other one it says part 1, and the other one says pediatric dosage calculations. It says part 2. So yeah, I take my exam on the 19th. I don't feel okay. So Sabrina, you need to be the areas where you're not feeling confident, you want to be double down on studying those areas that you don't feel confident in. So take some time now and try not to focus so much on anything that you are great at. Like for an example, let's just say you're really good with EKG or you're really good with order draw. Put those to the side for now and focus on stuff like this, studying stuff like this that you need help with, right? Hey, Morning Glory. Birth Wiley says there were 5 of these problems on my test. Oh yeah, see, yeah, so you definitely will see this. Okay, Yolanda says I take my certification Monday, second time around. Okay, Yolanda, if this is your second time taking it, just know to focus on those areas where you feel short on the first test. Sabrina says I want to try to book someone. Okay, you want to try to book. Okay, that's fine. The description should be under the video. If it's not already, once this video officially posts, it should be everything should be added to the description. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I know I haven't went live in a while. I'm going to start back up very soon because the new test information came out for the new CCMA, guys. So I will be doing study videos soon, very soon. People have been asking when I'm going to go live again. I did not go live because I knew the test was going to change. I did not want to spend that time creating that information only for the test to change. Like, believe it or not, a lot goes into these few little slides. So I didn't want to spend all that time creating those slides and study sessions knowing the test was going to change. But now that the new material is out, the new test goes live in January. You will definitely have some study session videos from me before that test goes live. So don't worry. Hi, Jay, Dane. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for hanging with me on this Friday night. You guys have a great weekend. I don't know where you all are watching from, but I'm in DC and it's very warm. So wherever you are, I hope you guys have some good weather right now. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend as well. All righty. Take care.